With over 7 million copies sold in just 3 days, Battlefield 6 is officially a success and a strong comeback for the franchise. However, as popular as the game is, it's not perfect, especially in multiplayer, where the community spends most of their time. Let's delve into 10 things that hardcore players dislike the most, and what's being done to address them. Map size. During the beta, the message from the community was loud and clear. Larger maps. The current map selection feels too small, even in Conquest, which accommodates 64 players. While the development team claimed that it purposely included smaller maps in the beta for players to test, the full release doesn't inspire much confidence in that regard. It's smaller, lessening one of its main appeals: vehicular combat. DICE revamped maps during the days of Battlefield 2042, so it's possible that it could alter the current selection. Otherwise, all that's left to do is wait for Season 1's first map and hope it mixes things up. Conquest ticket changes. What's worse than Conquest maps which don't feel like they capture the mode's scale and appeal? The recent changes to starting tickets. DICE explained that this was to ensure matches would finish at a more natural pace, since they would often reach the time limit beforehand. And while this encourages a faster playstyle, it feels counterintuitive to the mode's tenets, like vehicular play, proper strategy, thinking before leaping into the next fray, etc. DICE said it will keep monitoring feedback and data to make sure the flow of each match feels right, so this likely isn't a permanent change, but it's definitely one of the more bizarre. Medic woes. One of the most controversial classics in the game, the medic has received its fair share of complaints due to players not reviving their teammates, or even rezzing them and simply leaving rather than offering proper assistance. You also have players who don't use medic to support their team, but because it's the only class with a gadget that can heal and resupply at a moment's notice. Call it a selfish way to play, but it gets results. How DICE will address this and incentivize medics to tend to their teammates remains to be seen. UI issues. Another core feature that received extensive feedback and yet still feels as awful as ever to use is the user interface. From the very start of the experience when choosing the campaign, multiplayer, and Portal to selecting different playlists, the current UI feels clunky and unappealing. Locating new unlocks feels extremely cumbersome. Even the process of equipping new skins is downright baffling, requiring you to choose a class, then its character, before allocating a skin. And if that doesn't work, good luck figuring it out through anything but trial and error. This isn't to say that the HUD is any better while playing, but the UI as a whole simply takes the cake as one of the worst in a AAA title. Optics. One of the more underrated elements of a first-person shooter is the optics, because if the sights don't feel great to use, then the very act of aiming becomes an exercise in frustration. As you've no doubt gathered, many of the optics in Battlefield 6 aren't good. The red dot sights on some of them look so dark that it's difficult to actually track where your shots are going, which isn't helped by bloom and hit registration, but more on that later. Their size also doesn't help in this regard. Whatever happened to letting players customize their reticle? If Overwatch could implement something like this years ago, there's no excuse as to why Battlefield can't, especially when Battlefield 4 had similar functions. Challenge requirements. Challenges are always tough to implement because you want something that isn't too difficult to complete, but also something that could, well, challenge the player, perhaps push them out of their own comfort zone. However, the challenges require some hefty reworks, especially when they're required to unlock gadgets. These include intercepting projectiles with the grenade intercept system, which is fairly niche in its own regard, but becomes downright annoying when you need to do it 100 times and have a score of 40,000. Then there's the challenge which requires getting 300 kills with sniper rifles. Pretty easy to accomplish, but you also need to obtain headshot kills with the same at over 200 meters. Forget the skill required, there aren't even enough maps with such long sight lines. Rush. It's been mentioned before, but bears repeating. Rush just doesn't offer the same experience as previous titles. While its layouts have been revised to ensure better balance between attackers and defenders, In the Day 1 patch, the 24-player limit and overall flow lack the hectic, fast-paced action that the mode is known for. With how often it comes and goes, it wouldn't be surprising to see a 32-player variant introduced on a new map in the future. But for now, it feels like a shell of its former self. The progression grind. XP farming custom games would always be a concern with Portal simply because many players want a leg up over the competition, or at the very least to trivialize different challenges or unlock cosmetics. But in Battlefield 6, seeing DICE crack down on players who abuse the same feels like a punishment, given how horrendously slow leveling can be. Whether you're working to unlock new weapons, skins, or receive new gear, it ends up feeling more like a chore than a reward for time invested. And if you didn't happen to abuse Portal farming like other players, then you'll have to deal with not having a level playing field. Bloom and hit registration issues. Regardless of what you think of everything else, however, at least the actual gameplay is fun, right? Well, the weapons feel amazing to fire, and the movement is pretty solid despite the ongoing back and forth between the community and the developers on how it should feel. Unfortunately, some issues persist, which can make even the most satisfying gameplay feel terrible. We're talking about bloom and hit registration issues where, despite clearly aiming at your target and firing several rounds, many don't hit, which isn't the case when they fire back, instantly deleting you. As much as it may seem like an excuse for missing shots, it's become enough of an issue that the development team investigated and confirmed it's the result of two issues that impact dispersion/bloom in an unintended way and will cause you to have more dispersions at times. As described by principal game designer Florian Lebihan, a hotfix is on the way to fix this at least. No naval warfare. For everything that Battlefield 6 includes, there's a fair amount of content from previous titles that are outright missing. Perhaps none are as conspicuous as the lack of naval warfare, and given the game's premise of all-out war, not to mention the inclusion of planes and tanks, it feels weird not to take the fight to the seas. The development team said that the requests for implementing the same have not gone unnoticed, and while nothing has been officially announced, data mining by Insider Gaming reveals code strings alluding to two new vehicles, jet skis and rigid-hold inflatable boats. When they'll be added is anyone's guess, so it may take longer than you think, but at least there's a chance. Hey, did you know that we at Gaming Vault upload new videos every day? Stick around, drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell. And let us know what kind of content you'd like to see in the future with a comment below.